Back in 2005, when I was 18, I had just dropped out of high school. I was more concerned with drinking than I was school. So I dropped out and bought a plane ticket and went to live for a while with my cousin and his girlfriend in Washington. They lived in a town about an hour north of Seattle. I also had some friends there. I'd occasionally drive down to the city to spend a few days with them. We'd go to concerts, things like that. After a particular stint in Seattle, I decided to head back north to my cousin's place. I left Seattle without a dollar to my name. As I got on the road, I noticed I was very low on gas. I thought I could make it, though. Of course, about 20 miles short of my exit, my car began to sputter and gasp for more fuel. Lucky for me, I came up on a rest area. So I pulled in and went to the payphone. I didn't have much money, so I had to call my cousin collect. He was about 3 hours away and he was drunk. He was no help. I called his girlfriend, she didn't answer. However, I got a hold of my cousin again and he said he was coming home in the morning and could pick me up on the way. So it looked like I was spending the night at this rest stop. I got settled with my seat reclined and I used my hoodie as a blanket. 20 minutes later, a van pulled in. It was one of those Chevy Astro vans. The van parked and this guy stepped out. Your typical creeper, about 5'5", pudgy, balding, thick glasses. There were about 3 other cars parked here. This guy walked around the parking area glancing at every car. He walked slowly right in front of my car and just stared me down for what seemed like an hour. At this point, I was pretty sure my future involved me being referenced in a serial killer documentary. The creeper got back in his van, and he pulled it behind me on the other side of the parking lot. At this point, I was no longer reclined or relaxed. I sat quite awake, not taking my eyes off this guy. I looked in my side view mirror and could see him in his side view mirror, just staring at me. This went on for about 2 hours. He'd occasionally get out of his van and go stand in the woods, and then walk back to his van. I could tell he was still watching me because I could see the cherry on his cigarette light up as he would inhale. Pretty soon I had to piss like crazy. However, there was no way in hell I was going to walk into the bathroom with this guy around. I decided to call State Patrol and have them kick this guy out. So I did and told them the situation. They told me they would send a trooper. I hung up, payphone rang. I thought it was a State Patrol. I said hello. You want your dick sucked? What? Let me suck your dick. What the fuck? No. I slammed the receiver down. The damn creeper had the payphone number and was calling me from the woods. The phone rang again. I remembered I had an axe handle in my trunk for situations just like this. So I ran to my car, saw the creeper coming out of the woods walking towards me. I opened my trunk, grabbed the axe handle, and started towards the guy. He stopped in his tracks, staring at me, assessing me. He slowly turned around, got in his van, and drove away, staring at me the entire time. State Patrol finally came. I told him the entire story. He took my information. He told me he could drive me up the highway a bit so I could stay the night somewhere safe. So we went. The trooper asked if we could go to the other side of the highway to see if the guy had just switched rest areas. So we did. We pulled into one, and there's the van. The trooper approached the van, talked to the guy for about 5 minutes. When the trooper came back, he told me there was nothing he could charge the guy with. The guy claimed a friend had dropped him off and he was waiting for him to return. The trooper told him if he was still there when we passed back through, he would be arrested for trespassing. The trooper also told me he had several pairs of binoculars in the front seat and a large bag of candy. The trooper dropped me off at a diner. The next morning, my cousin came and picked me up, and I told him the story. After getting some gas, I went back to my car. There was a note under my windshield wiper. It was a poem. You should have shut your mouth, you stupid little bitch. Somebody should have taught you to never go and snitch. My car's brake lines were all cut. We called State Patrol again. They came out, took the note, and took some more information. Eventually, I spoke to an investigator. Nothing ever came out of it. They knew who the guy was and everything, and they never arrested him. I was 18 years old and on my way home to California on summer break. I had a 9-hour car ride ahead of me, so I stocked up on energy drinks, soda, and snacks. I left school late after dinner with friends and planned on driving into the night. I was making good time. I was around 3 or so hours from home. I suddenly got the urge to pee. Man, those energy drinks I chugged came back to haunt me big time. I kicked myself for not stopping when I had gassed up 45 minutes ago. Fortunately, I saw a sign that advertised a rest stop coming up, so I drove the few miles and pulled in. Already in the parking lot was a ratchet-looking sedan. On the other side of the lot was a Sprinter-type van. I quickly got out of my car and jogged to the restroom before I peed myself. I was flushing the toilet when I heard someone enter the bathroom. Now, I'm in decent shape. I work out pretty often for a guy on the smaller side, so I was ready for just about anything. I opened the stall door and saw an average-looking guy. He looked over and gave me a friendly smile and stepped over to the urinal. I washed my hands. When I was ready to leave, the guy started talking. His voice was gravelly and low. "You like dogs, man?" His coveralls had grease stains all over. My creeper meter started beeping. I shot him a friendly smile and said, "Yeah, man, dogs are cool." The guy followed me out the door, hot on my heels. "I got a new puppy. Want to see him? He's real cute." I started to freak out. My keys were in one hand, cell phone in the other. I called back to him saying, "No thanks, man, I gotta get going." I got into my car. He grabbed the door, trying to open it wider. The dude was strong, even though he was a few good inches shorter than me. I started my car, put my phone to the ear, and what he said next caused me to almost crap my pants. "Time the cops get here, you'll already be dead." Kicked out at his stomach. It connected, he let go of the door and fell on his ass. I then locked the doors and screeched the hell out of that rest stop. In the rear view, I saw him scramble for his car, but I didn't stick around. I was a nervous wreck for the next 3 hours. I thought he was going to follow me home and finish me off. Because of this incident, I've never stopped at another rest stop ever again. My girlfriend and I had gone on a 3-day vacation to Nashville in order to meet up with my buddy and his girlfriend. The trip was phenomenal. Plenty of alone time. We poked through the small shops, and we just generally enjoyed ourselves. It wasn't until we left for home that things got intensely terrifying. We left later than we should have. Honestly, just because we were really enjoying being away from it all. It was around 9 at night when we hit Kentucky. It was pitch black outside. We decided to stop at this rest stop even though it was a little shoddy looking. They always seem to be hit or miss, right? Well, this one was absolutely decrepit. Anyway, we pulled up in our car and things just felt off. My girlfriend and I looked at each other and I could tell we were thinking the exact same thing. Something was wrong here. The lights were a little too orange. Ours was the only car there. We just felt something in our bones. We tried to laugh it off. We decided that one of us would stay in the car while the other one went to the bathroom, and then we'd switch off. My girlfriend went first. After 3 minutes, she came out of the bathroom, sprinted to the car. It felt like an eternity. I kept looking at the building when she was gone. I saw things materialize out of the shadows, but then dissipate as if it was smoke. When she came back, I trudged to the men's bathroom even though every fiber of my being screamed not to go. I pulled the door open. The light inside had a sick greenish tint to it. There was a man inside with his back to me at the only urinal. Instead of waiting for him, I went into the only stall. There was something in the back of my mind telling me that I did not want to see this guy's face. I felt like I was coated in molasses. Every movement felt like it was in slow motion. I finally finished and zipped myself up. I opened the stall door and saw the man was standing directly in front of me. You scared me, I stuttered. He grinned at me. It wasn't friendly, but rather the grin of a madman that had never held back in his life. It was the grin of someone that wouldn't think twice about murder. A grin that reeked of sadism and evil. His hair was stringy, dirty, and hung around his shoulders, though he had none on the top of his head. What was left of his teeth were rotting, green and yellow. There were boils on his face and neck. But those weren't the worst visuals. No, he was missing an eye, but there was skin over the socket, as if he had been born that way. I doubted that he was ever born, though. This was not a man.
Care to wash your hands?
He asked. His voice didn't match his physical appearance. All of a sudden, it felt as though this exchange had lasted for hours. I snapped out of the fugue. I darted past the man and pushed the door open with all my might. Funny, it didn't seem to be that heavy when I went inside. The man laughed heartily, and all of a sudden, I felt wrong. Like I was no longer alone in my mind, like there was someone on my back. The sensation didn't go away when I looked behind me and did not see anyone. I jumped in the car and my girlfriend reversed quickly, tires squealing. Once we got back onto the highway, I kept looking in the back seat. I was convinced that we were bringing something home with us. I was so preoccupied with this morbid thought that I didn't notice my girlfriend staring at me strangely. She insisted that I wasn't myself. I attempted to calm her, but it just made things worse. She screamed, "Why the fuck are you smiling like that?" That snapped me out of it, whatever it was. Later, she told me that I had been smiling at her the same way that I described the man smiling. We tried to find a record of an abandoned rest stop or something terrible happening at one, but we couldn't find any information. Both of us were in such a hurry to leave that place that neither of us looked around to see where it was. I doubt that I'll ever understand what happened that night. I just hope that it never happens to anyone else.